Yeah, he's looking at me like, that happened? Yeah, if you look it up. They brought in robot bartenders. Tourists actually prefer the robot bartenders, it turns out. And if the robot bartender costs, let's call it $180,000, all they have to do is play it out and say, okay, this will pay for itself in how long? 3 years? You know, if you include all the benefits and all the other sort of costs, maybe 4 years? Like, it doesn't matter what the time frame is, because eventually they get the money back. Do you think MGM is going to be the last casino to make that move?
No.
No, of course not. So you all are ground zero and you're seeing it around you every single day. It's up to you to make a different kind of case to the rest of the country as quickly as possible, or you will see your way of life transform before your eyes. You all are ground zero for the automation of jobs. You're also, in many ways, ground zero for climate change. These are the two macro challenges that are hitting the country, but Nevada more than most anyone. So the question is, what can we do about it? What is the plan? If retraining is a dud, then what are we going to do? If you were here today, at some point you heard something like this. There's an Asian man running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. We're hearing that? First time you heard that, you were like, ha ha, that's a gimmick, that will never happen. That's literally too good to be true. But this is not my idea. Thomas Paine was for this at the founding of the country, called it the citizen's dividend for all Americans. Martin Luther King fought for this in the 1960s, called it the guaranteed minimum income, and it is what he was fighting for when he was assassinated in 1968. This was so mainstream that 1,000 economists endorsed it in the 60s, including Milton Friedman. And it passed the US House of Representatives twice under Richard Nixon, called the Family Assistance Plan, 1971, this close to being law. And then 11 years later, one state passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that?
Alaska.
And how does Alaska pay for it?
Oil money.
And what is the oil of the 21st century?
Technology.
Technology, marijuana, I'm kidding. Technology, AI, big data, self-driving cars and trucks. A study just came out that said that our data is now worth more than oil. How many of you saw that? How many of you received your data check in the mail? None of us did.
Next year.
Well, maybe next year if I'm president, that's true.
Yes,
I gotta
next
get you guys a data check. All those data checks went straight to Facebook, Amazon, Google, and these mega tech companies that are paying literally zero in taxes. In Alaska, they call this the oil check, and everyone loves it. We're going to call this the tech check, and all of America is going to love it.
Yeah.
And I want you to imagine what will happen when you all get this dividend in 2021. Where will the money go? If you all had an extra $1,000 a month, how would you spend it?
Better life, daycare.
College,
Health.
daycare, health,
Car payments.
Yeah.
diapers and formula. I'm a parent too.
Start something
Car
new.
payments.
Start
How much of it would stay right here in Nevada?
90%.
Most all of it.
Yes.
A little bit of it would float away. You know, you'd upgrade your Netflix subscription, you buy an extra blender at Amazon. But most of it would go to daycare and car repairs you've been putting off, and Little League sign-ups, and restaurants and local businesses, and then the restaurant and the garage and the tutoring service, and everyone has to hire an extra person. We can create tens of thousands of jobs right here in Nevada and build a trickle-up economy from our people, our families, and our communities up. The task here is to rewrite the rules of the 21st century economy so that it works for us. There is no other way to make this stuff work, because we're in the midst of the greatest winner-take-all economy in the history of mankind. And it is about to really take off when artificial intelligence leaves the lab and starts hitting businesses for real. I spoke to a conference of 70 CEOs in New York City, and I asked them, how many of you are looking at having AI replace clerical workers in your back office? Guess how many hands went up out of 70?
70.
All 70. The truth is you could fire that CEO if he wasn't looking at doing that. That is the system we have built. It is not designed to help us. It is designed to maximize capital efficiency. And capital efficiency is turning on more and more of us, very, very quickly. The only answer is to have us all become participants in the gains of the 21st century economy. Make us all owners and shareholders and say, look, we started $1,000 a month, and then that money ends up going to make us stronger, healthier, mentally healthier, improves our relationships, improves our mental health, and would help us all adapt more as the economy is transformed before our eyes. So this isn't just necessary, it's inevitable. And the faster we do it, the faster we can start adapting to the realities of this economy. The economic measurements they throw up on the headlines every single day. GDP's at record highs. You've probably seen that. It's like, oh, GDP is great. Also at record highs in the United States of America right now. Stress, suicides, drug overdoses, financial insecurity, student loan debt. It has gotten so bad that American life expectancy has declined for the last 3 years in a row. You know the last time American life expectancy declined for 3 years in a row? The Spanish flu of 1918. You have to go back 100 years to a global pandemic that killed millions to find a period in American history where our life expectancy declined for 3 consecutive years. It is actually highly abnormal for life expectancy to decline even 1 year in a developed country. Ordinarily, our life expectancy keeps drifting upwards, but it started to go down the last several years because suicides and drug overdoses each overtook vehicle deaths for the first time in American history. So if GDP is going one direction, our life expectancy is going the other, which should we listen to? How many of you were excited about GDP when you woke up this morning? You're like, oh, I hope I make a big contribution this weekend. Oh, it's ridiculous. And you don't have to look any further than my family. My wife's at home with our 2 boys right now, one of whom is autistic. How much does her work count at in GDP every year? Zero. And we know that's perverse. We know that the 10 million stay-at-home parents in this country are doing the most challenging and vital work there is. Even the inventor of GDP said 100 years ago, this is a terrible measurement for national well-being. We should never use it as that. And here we are 100 years later following it off a cliff. Robot trucks, great for GDP, really bad for many, many Americans and many communities. So we need to evolve from GDP to measurements that would actually tell us how we are doing in real life. And so what are those measurements? If I were to ask you, how would you actually measure how your family, your neighborhood, your community are doing? Life expectancy would be a great place to start, right? Like that's probably, if I said life expectancy got longer, you're like, oh, things must be going pretty well. What else?
Quality of life.
Quality of life.
Mental health.
Mental health and freedom from substance abuse. Income and affordability.
Happiness. What
good is this giant top line number if the average American can't afford what we're doing? Someone said clean air and clean water. Would that make you happier if I said, hey, the water got cleaner? So these are things we actually have measurements for. And as your president, I will upgrade and modernize GDP to this American scorecard that includes our health, our mental health, environmental quality,
education,
substance abuse, childhood success rates, and then present the real numbers to you all every year at the State of the Union. I'll be the first president to use a PowerPoint deck at the State of the Union every single year. And if you like that visual, then you probably belong in the Yang Gang, because it's a pretty nerdy campaign.
Oh yeah, we are.
Pick a good font, she's right. Comic Sans. No.
Yes.
Word art.
You know, we'll have a font contest this year. We're like, all right, what font is President Yang going to be presenting in the State of the Union in? So this is the vision of an economy that works for us, that we have to make real as quickly as possible. And most of the country can do very, very little about actually pushing us in this direction. That's why I love being here in Nevada. This is one of the only places where democracy actually works the way it's intended. Not that many people caucus when it comes down to it. So if you get enough people together and decide to caucus in a particular direction, we can actually change the course of history very, very quickly. That's why I love campaigning here. Most of the country looks up and they see these pipes that are clogged with money, and they think there is nothing they can do about it. They are generally correct. There is very little they can do about the pipes clogged with hundreds of millions of dollars of lobbyist cash. But you can. You all have this power. You can flush the pipes. If you decide to steer the country towards a vision of an economy that actually works for us, we can make it real like that. It will spread like wildfire. I stand before you right now, 4th, 5th, or 6th in national polls. That's ordinarily a cause for like some kind
We are made with media.
No, some people are like,
Yes.
hey, you should be first. I like
Yes.
it. I like your style.
Yes.
We raised $10 million in the last quarter in increments of only $30 each. So my fans are almost as cheap as Bernie's. And this is a very cheap gang to join. It's the most wholesome gang there is.
Yes.
A gang of human beings. So we are in a position to make history because people like you have decided to embrace this vision and make it your own. That's the only way this happens. We cannot afford 4 more years of the robot trucks hitting the highways and the stores closing and the call centers replacing people with software and the robot bartenders and the rest of it, the AI getting smarter, like we have to make this move now as quickly as possible. We're actually decades behind the curve.
Yes.
You know the United States of America got rid of the Office of Technology Assessment in 1995, 24 years ago? What a dumb time to get rid of that agency, right? And like what, they thought they'd invented everything in 95? Oh, I guess we're done. Oh man. One of the reasons why Trump won is that we're so far behind. We're looking up in despair, and my goal is to get us caught up. Donald Trump became our president in part because he got some of the problems right. He said he was going to make America great, and then what did Hillary Clinton say in response?
America's already great.
It's already great. And that was not the right answer. We have to acknowledge the depth and reality and severity of the problems, but we need solutions that would actually work, that would actually improve our lives. Though Donald Trump got the problems right, his solutions were the opposite of what we need. What were his solutions? We're going to build a wall, we're going to turn the clock back, we're going to bring the old jobs back. We have to do the opposite of these things. We have to turn the clock forward. We have to accelerate our economy and society as quickly as possible. We have to evolve in the way we think about ourselves and our work and our value. And I am the ideal candidate for this job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Thank you very much, all ladies.
Yeah.
What does math stand for?
Make America think harder.
Make America think harder. That's right. That's what you have to help us do. We have to show the rest of the country it's not left, it's not right, it's forward, and that is where you will take us in 2020. Thank you all very much. We'd love to answer questions.